All right, we're going to jump right into this. So this weekend, my daughter was dancing had a dance competition down in St. George. And after several hours of dance, as much as I love to watch her dance, I needed to go for a little bit of walk. So I walked around Dixie University's campus, and I came across a quote that I like and I think is really relevant for this year, particularly for us in real estate, for those of us in real estate. Particularly because I think there's a lot of fear in people's conversation around what's going to happen in our market. It's getting more competitive. My clients are choosing to go with other agents. Whatever it is, there tends to be just like a little bit of fear looming in the air around this market. While it's an exciting market and there's a lot of things going on and a lot of positivity, there's an underlying stream of fear there. And so this quote I liked says, and it looks like it's by an author named William Allen White, who I don't know who that is, but it says, "I am not afraid of tomorrow, for I have seen yesterday, and I love today." And I really like that because we work ourselves up over fear about tomorrow when, hey, we made it through yesterday just fine. There were lessons to be learned from yesterday. Today is a good day. I have complete control over what happens today. And the thing we can learn from that is somehow I made success in the past. I have power over today, which that builds confidence that I also can have power to make the decisions to control what's coming in this market. So anyway, I thought that was really relevant, particularly for some of the things we're going to be talking about today. So let's do a quick recap of what we've covered so far in the fundamentals. Number one is we went over the career growth initiative and got clarity on what it was that we wanted to accomplish and make in real estate, and work that backwards into the 4 conversations. So the 4 conversations, if you guys remember, looks like this. We went through the exercise and we saw how much profit we wanted to make, and this was an example one I put together. How much profit I want to make, how many closings that means I need to take per year or per month, how many contracts or listings I needed to take per month or per year, and then how many appointments I needed to go on. So what we determined from this activity was, now we have clarity on how many appointments we need to be going on, and that now is our focus. Last week we broke down our calendar and deconstructed our calendar and reconstructed our calendar to, number one, protect our personal non-negotiables, and number two, to protect our business non-negotiables. And one of those business non-negotiables was lead generation. Now, I know that for a lot of us, lead generation seems to be in line with 4-letter words of things we cringe when we hear the word lead generation as if it's a curse word. But I'm hoping to debunk that a little bit today and gain new perspective around what lead generation is and what lead generation is not, and give some clarity around how to be better at utilizing our time in lead generation. Because if we're not protecting that time and we're not generating leads, our business is dying. If we're not fueling it with new opportunities to do business, someone else is taking that business from us. So what I want to do today is start with a quick conversation around what I call the machine. So let me flip over here to my screen. All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I call the machine. And some of you have seen this before, but all of us that have our real estate licenses or in the real estate business, we think that we are in the business of selling homes, helping people either list homes for sale or help buyers buy homes. And in my opinion, that's really not what we're in the business of. That's a result of doing something really, really well. And what that is creating opportunity, providing value for people to the point where they're raising their hand and saying, hey, yes, do help me list or sell my home. So here's what the machine looks like. Number one is we have to protect our database. A lot of you guys have heard me call this data bank. And this is the phrase we use on my team, because I want everyone on my team to understand that when someone raises their hand and says, yes, send me information, stay in touch with me, that is future money. That is a win. I want to celebrate that. So we call this data bank. In fact, we've worked this to the point that we know when someone raises their hand and says, send us valuable information, and we get to add them, it's a permission database add. They've given us permission to add us to the database. That's worth $1,287 of future dollars. This is what the machine looks like. Now these circles over here, these are lead sources. There's a billion lead sources out there for us to chase as far as our lead generation is concerned. And this is a place that a lot of us get frustrated with lead generation, is because every single week we have someone new showing up in our world saying, hey, you should generate leads this way, or you should pay for these leads over here. And we get all excited about it, and we go try it for a couple weeks, and we're like, that didn't work. And then we, that same day that we're saying that didn't work, or we're experiencing some frustration with it, we have a new vendor show up in our office saying, hey, try this. This is working for some of my other clients. And we jump ship from what we just committed to, and we jump in line with a new lead generation source. So there's a million lead generation sources out there. Ideally for me, the first benchmark is we want to get to where we have 4 lead sources that are working on our behalf. Now, realistically, we shouldn't even think about lead generations 2, 3, and 4 until we've really solidified and systematized our number 1 lead source, which for every single one of us should be our sphere of influence. Too many of us want to jump around and skip the sphere of influence and immediately go to like paid lead sources, because we have this fear around having a conversation with people that are already in relationship with us. They've already chosen to enjoy our company or like us for some reason or another, whether that's they're on our kids' baseball team, or we went to school with them, or they live down the street. We already have a connection with these people, and this is our highest probability of creating a long-term relationship, as those people we're already rubbing shoulders with. So we cannot ignore that. In fact, I don't even think it's appropriate to go spend money on leads until we're already tapping out on our sphere of influence. These lines here in between the lead source and the data bank are all called permission lines. And this is where this becomes a game and a machine, is how do we have conversations in our lead generation time that are providing an opportunity for someone to give us permission to do something for them. Whether that's a permission to come into their house and give them have an appointment for a listing consultation or a buyer consultation, or that permission may come in the form of other things, as far as, hey, please do send me that report, or yes, please do send me that information that's going on in my community, or yes, please do send me that your notes on the class you just went to in regards to what's going on in the market. So there's some kind of permission there that's going to be happening that's going to drive this into the data bank. Now, this is the machine. If we get good at this, where we have 4 lead sources that are constantly giving us permission and are working systematically for us, this data bank is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And what we know is through the lead generation efforts, when we're connecting with people, this is a process of relationship nourishment. And if we can change our mindset around lead generation to relationship nourishment, I think a lot of us will get more excited about those conversations, because the truth of the matter is when we have that conversation with someone, we're going deep with some kind of conversation and connection, right? Whether that's someone from your SOI that you're reconnecting with, or someone that you're connecting with for the first time, is somehow you're breaking down the barriers and you're having a real value conversation. Now, the way to really capitalize on that conversation, and this is where our conversation is going to get into next week, is it's critical for us to have the systematic follow-up to these people so that we're continuing to add this value, because these conversations are exactly like a new car. The minute you drive a new car off the parking lot, it immediately depreciates in value. It is the same thing with these conversations. We have a valuable conversation with someone, and they're like, man, this person is brilliant. They're bringing their A game. They're bringing me information. The minute you walk out of that their house, or the minute you get off of that phone call with them, the value of that conversation immediately starts to depreciate. And this is where it becomes critical for your 8x8s and your 30-30 touch, because these are shallower touches, and the whole purpose of these are to remind them how valuable this conversation was. And then it comes time for the next client event or the quarterly phone call, whatever it is next, that you get the opportunity to connect and provide more value to this person. And then it's this, then you go deep again. That is the whole power of the follow-up, which we're going to talk about next week. So I want you to change your mindset around lead generation, that it's relationship nourishment, and that you're visualizing this machine of how do I get people into my database that have given me permission to bring value to their world. Okay, let's switch. Let's jump through to the next piece of the conversation here, which is in regards to actual lead generation and follow-up. Give me 1 second to pull up my notes here. All right, so this is where we start getting some misconception around what lead generation is and where to go for our lead generation. And the question I get a lot is, which is better, quantity or quality? So let me give a little bit of perspective around this, around quantity of leads versus quality of leads. So quantity of leads, let's say that we pay for a lead source and we get 100 leads come in, as compared to quality leads that we may go really deep on a relationship, but we only drive 10 leads in. Conversion rate on quantity of leads may be around 1%, while the conversion rate around quality leads may be around 10%. So if we had 100 leads, web leads, with a conversion rate of 1%, that equals 1 appointment. As opposed to quality leads, if we had 10 quality leads at a conversion rate of 10%, it also equals 1 appointment. So the real answer is here, the quality is in the quantity of leads. We want to focus primarily on driving as many quality leads into us as we possibly can, but then we want to figure out systematically how to drive a higher quantity of leads into our data bank. So a couple things, a couple quotes here from the MREA that I think are really relevant to our conversation is here it says, even as important as your look and message are, there's a much stronger correlation between sales leads generated and the consistency and frequency of your message than between sales and the creativity of your message. Now, this is somewhere, the reason I think this is relevant is too many of us spend so much time trying to tweak our logo or tweak our message, or I hate the way this newsletter looks, or I don't have time to rewrite this article. We need to get rid of that mindset that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the necessarily, yes, we want it to be quality, but we don't have to overthink it. The key is we've already gone deep with the relationship and the conversation. All these other little touches are just to remind them that you're here for them, not necessarily every one of them is going to go through and read every word or line item of that newsletter. The second quote here that I think is really relevant is, for effective lead generation, you need to be systematic, frequency, and consistency, and go for sheer volume. Your lead generation plan must always be more ambitious than your income goals. So we knew that based on the example we put together, I've got to go on 2 listing appointments a month, which means I'm really going to try to push for 1 listing appointment a week, and I need to be generating enough leads that I can crush that goal. And the 2 key words here are frequency and consistency. This is the trick with lead generation. I don't care if you're the best on the phone or the worst on the phone. The person that is consistently on the phone and pushing is the one that's going to get the appointment. A couple quick things that I think are really relevant here is this is a lead generation survey that came out in 2017. So many of us are focusing the majority of our time on cold calling, online ads, farming, door knocking, which are all good. They're all good activities to do, but not at the expense of ignoring referrals, your SOI, and repeat business, which is all following up with those people in your database that have already said, hey, I do want to be in a relationship with you. And you can see the orange here is based on the average agent, 36% of their income is coming from referrals, 26% is coming from their SOI, and 13% is coming from repeat business. All 3 of those columns are all people that have said, I do want to be in a relationship with you. I'm already in your data bank. Now give me value. I asked you to give me value. Now follow up with me. Give me what you told me you were going to give me. I mean, that's 35, 36, 46, 56, 60, 70. That's 75% of this person's income is coming from those 3 categories. When I get the question all of the time, like, hey, what's the best paid lead source for me to do? Should I do Zillow? Should I do Boomtown? And those do have value, but not until you're capitalizing on these 3 columns. This again shows, and then that same survey, it shows survey results modeled for $100,000 gross commission income and a lead generation budget of $10,000. You can see here on the left column under referral and repeat business, it only costs them $1,170 to generate that $36,000 in income. That's a 36%, or that's a monster return on your money there. As opposed to like online ads, they cost more money. Open houses cost more money per lead. Still, there's a return of money there, but remember the 4 lead sources? We don't want to neglect the number 1, which is SOI. Now, here's the other mistake. Let's move to the second mistake that I see people make with lead generation all the time, is we think it's a one call and done. We got the number in front of us. We got ourselves hyped up. We already know we don't want to be doing the lead generation. So we pick up the phone, we make the call, and we sit there in our mind, we're like, oh, please don't pick up. Please go to voicemail. In our minds, we're telling ourselves already we wanted to go to voicemail instead of actually having a conversation with this person. And when it goes to voicemail, we're like, yes. We leave this message that we think is phenomenal. Hey, it's me. Give me a call. Can't wait to talk. And we hang up and we check that off our list like, hey, yay, I did my lead generation because I left this person a message and they're going to call me back if they need me. Huge mistake. I don't care how much this person loves you. If it's your aunt or uncle or mom or friend or whatever it is, they have a busy life and a lot of times they were not expecting that phone call. And it's going to quickly scoot under the rug and they're going to move on. Not that they're thinking maliciously like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person. Just life happens. They're going to be busy. But the key is we cannot let that one touch be the end of our lead generation. A good friend of mine and a great team, Jason Wells and Chris Niederhauser out of Arizona, with their team, they've coined this phrase, lead Ge-llow. And that's what they use on their team instead of lead generation. And what that is it's lead generation coupled with follow-up. Because the truth is lead generation without follow-up is a huge waste of our time. Leaving that message is just like a teeny tiny drop of water in the ocean. For us to really capitalize on our lead generation time, we have to make sure that we're following up consistently. So with every lead generation, all 4 of those lead sources that you saw on our map, is we have a very specific 8 days of paying that we're going after, where we're touching these people 8 times, at least 8 times in 8 days, depending on the lead source, to really push for that conversation. Because we know once we have that conversation, there's a very high likelihood that they're going to say, yes, I'm giving you permission, follow up with me. Either help me with my immediate need in real estate, or continue to follow up with me until I need you. But you can see on this graph, it's the statistics are really compelling here to say, hey, the first call attempt, you have a 48% chance of connecting with them and getting the sale, which in this point, the sale is either an appointment or them giving you permission. So you can see by the 3rd call attempt, we've increased our chance to 81%. Our 6th call attempt, we've increased our probability to 93%. So we cannot just say, hey, I made the call, I'm done, now I'm going to move on to the next people on my list. It's systematically, those people are on my radar for 8 days, okay? So let me give you an example of what that looks like. And really what you need to do is determine what does an 8-day follow-up plan look like for every lead specific to the lead source. Now, for a web lead source, because we do a lot of web leads, we're way more aggressive in our 8 days of pain because we know speed to lead is critical, which means that our 8 days of pain for a web lead looks something like this. Within 5 minutes of them raising their hand, meaning they filled out the form online, they immediately get a text message from us saying, hey, we noticed you were online, and then asking for more information about what they're looking for. They also get an email. Within 5 minutes, they also get a phone call. And our deal with the phone call is if it goes to voice message, we do not leave a message. We hang up and we immediately call back again, because you know that when you get a call from a number twice, you're like, oh, this must be important, I'll pick it up. So we're giving 4 touches within the first 5 minutes of our web lead sources. And then we push it hard for the next 8 days. For our SOI lead generation, we do it a little bit differently, because we don't want this person to think that all of a sudden I'm on crack cocaine and just calling them over and over and over and over again to be annoying out of the blue and being overly salesy. But I want them to know that the conversation I want to have with them is important. So my 8 days of pain with a sphere of influence, to give you an example, is say someone already gave me permission to follow up in my data bank, And all of a sudden my CRM tells me, hey, you haven't talked to Jack Johnson in a while. You're up for a quarterly or quarterly phone call. So my CRM tells me this person's up for a quarterly phone call. They've been getting the small touches. Now they're up for a call. So my 8 days of paying for that call is going to be a little bit differently because I want it to feel natural and organic and not pushy. So what that does look like is day one, call. If I don't get the conversation, I leave a message. Hey, it's Marcus. I haven't talked to you in a while. Just want to connect. Looking forward to the conversation. And I leave a message. If I don't get a call back, day two is a text message. Hey, I left you a message yesterday. I know you're busy. Looking forward to connect. Day three is a Facebook message and a phone call. So I get 2 touches, either a phone call again and a Facebook message that says, hey, I've left you a couple messages and sent you a text. Hey, just trying to follow up. Did your contact information change? All things that a friend would say, right? Nothing here I've done crossing the line that a friend wouldn't do anyway. So days 1 through 4 are all me following up. And really days 6 and 7 for me for SOI is at this point I'm doing what I call exit gracefully because I don't want them to feel like I'm overly pushy. Is day 6 is a message that says, hey, it's Marcus again. Hey, I've been trying to reach you the last couple of days. Just had some important information that, number 1, I wanted to follow up with how things are going with your family. And number 2, I wanted to update you on some things that are going on in your neighborhood. I know life is busy. Hey, I'm going to circle back around with you in a couple months. You've got my number. Follow up with me if you need me. So at that point, I'm exiting gracefully at the end of the 8 days of pain. But I'm going to continue pushing for the conversation because my CRM's not going to tell me to call this person again until another quarter. And if I didn't press for the conversation now, that's 6 months, which is too long for me to have a conversation with this person to reconnect with them. So don't just make the call once. Commit to 8 days of pain of following up with that person until you get the conversation. Because if the truth of the matter is if you're not doing this, someone else is, or if you're not doing this, the value of your relationship has depreciated such that when the need comes up for that person, it doesn't matter who knocks on their door and says, oh, I'm a real estate agent. They're going to say, oh, great, funny you're here today. We just got a job transfer. We do need to list our house. But if the value of your conversation was still significant and relevant in their minds, they'd tell that person at the door, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Thanks for dropping by. Marcus has been giving me value for the last 18 months. He's my guy. I'm going to call him and we're going to get this thing done. Same statistics here. So let's talk about identifying your top 4 lead sources. So there's a billion types of lead sources here. The only thing I really think is relevant is number 1 has to be your sphere of influence. Do not skip that and deprioritize your sphere of influence. We all know a lot of people. And it's crazy to me when I ask people, hey, how big's your database? How big's your SOI? And they're 35 years old and they're like, oh, I got 20 people in my SOI. I'm all, you have not lived under a rock for the last 30 years of your life. So the number 1 thing is you have to expand your database. Take a walk down memory lane and think, okay, the minute I graduated high school, where did I go? Okay, who was my roommate? Who did we hang out with? What social clubs did I go to? Start thinking of every single person that you rub shoulders with that you want to reconnect with and start expanding your SOI, and those are your first conversations. The second, in my opinion, for most agents that aren't driving a huge team, your second lead source should be social media. What a huge opportunity, an easy way to connect with people. When someone fills out a Facebook account or an Instagram account, they're in essence saying, I want to be social. I want relationships. I want people to tell me how cute my kids are. So they're already saying they want to be social, and we're not capitalizing on this. Social media should be a part of your lead generation time. So right now on your calendars, as we build out our ideal calendars, we've said from this time to this time is lead generation. Now we need to break that down to say, okay, well, the first 30 minutes of that 3-hour segment or that 2.5-hour segment is I'm going to make my SOI calls. Who in my database is up for the quarterly phone call? And I'm going to give you a recommendation on that here in a second. That's what I'm going to do for the first 30 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to take 30 minutes for social media. And what I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through my feed systematically, not like when you're just sitting there breezing along, but saying, okay, who are my relationships and who's celebrating? Who can I congratulate? Social media is being social. It's not stalking. It's actually engaging in a conversation of saying, hey, congratulations on 14 years of marriage. That is huge. What's the secret? Question mark. What does a question mark do? It promotes an answer. And they get to now engage in a conversation, which has much more impact than a like and a scroll. So we need to engage. That is part of lead generation. We won't jump into paid versus non-paid, except this is there is a place in your world for paid lead sources, but in no way is there a way in your world for paid lead sources, in my opinion, until you're capitalizing and really systematically driving your SOI and perhaps social media, which are free lead sources. And once those are systematically done and you're saying, man, I've got an extra couple hours of my day, then we start talking about paid lead sources. So identified my top lead sources. The couple things here is we've already talked about the conversations and getting permission, but with every conversation, we have 3 goals, which is number 1 is find out, do they have a current need for an appointment? Do they have a current need to understand what their home's worth to either sell it or are they looking to buy? That's not the end of the conversation though if they say no. The second is I'm looking for a permission to give them some sort of value. So can I send them my notes on a class I just went to? Can I send them a list of where to go watch fireworks for the 4th of July? What can I do for them to re-give me permission if they've already given me permission? If it's a new lead, what can I do? What can I offer them that they're going to give me permission to follow up? And then number 3 is the referral. And asking for a referral is very easy, particularly when you're giving away a value of saying, oh yeah, my team put together a list of where the best places to watch fireworks on the 4th of July in Davis County are. Hey, I'm going to send that over to you. Hey, by the way, while I've got you on the phone, is there anybody else in your world that you think would find value in that same list? Would you call them and ask them if it would be okay if I send that list to them? That is asking for a referral. It is much easier than us thinking, who else do you know that needs to buy or sell real estate today? Because that feels pushy to some people. Now, it has to be in alignment with how you're wired, but always ask for a referral. Those are my 3 objectives, preset objectives with every conversation. So let's jump into a couple of recommendations here. Number 1, focus on your SOI. Number 2, stretch your SOI. I guarantee, this is another thing that cracks me up, is I ask people, how many people are in your SOI or in your database that are considered your SOI? Oh, 50. Awesome. How many friends do you have on Facebook? 1,000. Shouldn't those numbers be pretty similar? Now, I understand we've got some people that just happen to be our friends because, they just send us a request and we don't really know them, but they should be pretty close in essence, okay? Stretch your SOI. Social media, don't be a stalker, get social, engage, create engagement. Start asking questions on social media. Focus on your neighborhood. Then after that, take your pick. I don't care if it's Boomtown or the Rotary Club or whatever it is, but don't pick those until you've got really some clarity on and some systems built around your top 2 lead sources, which generally should be, without doubt, number 1 should be SOI, and number 2 should probably be social media. So real quickly, let me give you, we got about wrap up, but let me give you this alphabet system that we use that I think is really relevant, because when you connect with someone and they raise their hand and say, yes, give me information, we put them into our database and we start our drip campaign, which we're going to talk about next week, of how to systematically follow up with people. But now everybody that goes in there is either getting put on an 8x8 and or a 33 touch, which is those touches that go along the way. Now, for example, I've got several thousand people in my database, and my level of relationship with all of them is a little bit different. In fact, let me talk about this first, is I have to rank all of those people based on what level of relationship I am with them, and based on what level of relationship I am with them, they're going to get more value from me. So this is how we organize our database. An A+ is a core advocate, meaning they've done business with me in the past and they've referred me business. A is they've done business with me or made it very clear that they will do business with me if they need the need. B is they've raised their hand and we're now in conversation, but they haven't overly committed to me, but I'm working on pushing them to A. C is they've raised their hand somewhere along the way, but they're not engaging back. And then everybody else in my database is just getting the 33 touch. Well, my A+, my A's, and my B's, they all deserve a quarterly phone call at least from me. So this is the system we use to help keep track of that, is we know that if you get behind on this, it's very hard to catch up. So we create an alphabet system and how to follow up with these people. So you can see week 1, if we break the week into quarters, there's 13 weeks. Week 1, everybody with the last name that starts with A or starts with W gets a call from us. Okay, so if you have an assistant every single week, whether say you're on week 6, you should walk into the office Monday morning and there should be a list of people, everyone with the last name of F and everybody with the last name of G, so that you know this week my commitment is to follow up with these people. And it's not just the leave the message, it is the follow-up of I'm going to continue to attempt to call these people until I get some kind of engagement or I exit gracefully. Okay, so it's depending on the size of your database. This is a significant part of your lead generation of saying, okay, my lead generation starts at 9 o'clock or whatever time you committed to. I'm going to start with the people with the last name F. Here we go. Okay, now the next day, Tuesday, the place I start is saying, okay, who did I leave a message for yesterday that now I need to text? Now I copy and paste the text. Hey, I left you a message yesterday, looking forward to connect. I quickly drop that on everybody I called yesterday, then I pick up and start calling the people my calls for today. Then on Wednesday, I've got my Facebook messages, my texts for the people Tuesday, and my calls for Wednesday. Okay, so I'm systematically driving this whole thing, but if I got a game plan to it and a system to it, it goes very quickly and I drive it and I'm driving a lot of conversations. So included in, to wrap up, and then we'll open it up for a couple questions here, is we need to stop thinking of lead generation as this big scary thing, as if someone's going to hand you a phone book and say, good luck, start calling random people. Think of lead generation as relationship nourishment. Either nourishing a relationship with someone that already raised their hand that said, I care about you, I want to be in a relationship with you, or I'm going to go find new people that want to get in a relationship with me. This is a very critical piece to what we do today. Is the consumer used to hire a realtor based on, I have a need and I need someone to get me to the finish line. And now the consumer's decision pattern has changed in that they say, I have a need and I want it to be an experience. And that is what we've got to focus on, is we've got to create an experience from the minute we first make a connection with them, where now we're in a relationship with them, and the relationship is the experience all the way to the closing table and beyond. If we're not creating an experience for people, they are not getting what they want. And that experience is in the form of a relationship. So I will send over my notes today, included with the recording. I'm also going to include a list of some of the basic scripts that I think are relevant to be using in today's market for you to use and have those conversations. But does anyone that's on have any questions for me as we wrap up our conversation today?
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay. One question I had was where you were going through, like you showed all the weeks of the quarter and how you were contacting people. F through G was the example.
Yep.
On your notes, will you include those different things you were saying about per day? Like first day you tried calling them, second day you're going to try texting them. I was notes, but I didn't quite keep up.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I will I'll include what we do. The thing I would recommend you do, and I want to share everything I do, but I want to encourage you to say, does this make sense for me? Like what should my 8 days of pain look like specific to the lead source? Because if I took my web lead 8x8 or my 8 days of pain and applied that to my SOI, I would burn out and kill my SOI. So you got to look at it and say, does this eight days of pain make sense based on who I'm targeting, who I'm calling today? But I'll be happy to share what I have. Any other questions? I assume that means all you guys are going to be crushing your lead generation today from 9 to 11. Okay, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys being here. Do me a favor, and as you're wandering the halls of your office today, if you found value in the call today, be sure to let other agents know about it and invite them to this platform. I'd love the opportunity to connect with more people. I know a lot of people are watch this after the fact, but the more you guys help me circulate the conversation around it, the more impact we can have on some agents in our office and get them producing at a higher level as well. And what I just gave you was a great example of a way to ask for a referral. I'm asking you, if you found value, share it please with someone else and connect me with them. Appreciate you guys. Make it a great day. Appreciate being in business with you guys. and we'll talk to you next week.